What's going on, everybody? We are back with another Omniverse discussion, and today we're going to talk about the new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer that just dropped today. Let's get into it. First thing we notice is the tentacle here. It looks pretty plain. We see Iron Man, his Iron Spider costume. Okay, looking pretty good. But coming up, we see that the tentacles are red, which signifies that they kind of incorporate maybe some of the Stark technology in the Iron Spider costume, which is pretty interesting. We also see it when he pins him against the column. He says, "Peter Parker, you're not Peter Parker." He's like, "Wait, where am I?" He's like, he doesn't know he's in the MCU. That is Peter Parker, which I'm sure pretty much confuses Tom Holland. Like, hey, how does this guy know who I am? But he notices it's not his Peter, which kind of seems like he kind of calms down a bit. Next, though, in the next shot that we get, we see that there's a Green Goblin, but not Norman Osborn Green Goblin. It looks more like Harry Osborn than Norman, which is pretty interesting. He might be here to help. We don't know. Could be here to do more harm than good, but I guess we'll find out also. Next, we see a very good shot, and I'm so happy to see Jamie Foxx back as Electro, looking splendid. A lot better than he looked in the Amazing Spider-Man. Nothing against it. It just, it left a lot to be desired. But I'm glad to see him back and looking great. This next shot, though, has us have a little bit of dialogue between Mary Jane, Peter, and Octavius, kind of joking back and forth. They asked him what his name is. He said, Dr. Otto Octavius. They're like, what? Like, your mama named you that? Like, that's your whole name. Like, that's not your made-up name, like your superhero name, your villain name or whatever. No, that's your name. That's my name. So that's pretty different dialogue there. We also see that this tells us that they aren't enemies at this point. They kind of seem, having a good time with each other. They seem very relaxed around one another. So which signifies that once he saw he was somewhere else and kind of came to a realization that this isn't his world, he kind of calmed down a little bit and they're going to kind of work together, which is pretty interesting. I mean, I think it's a good take to kind of see Dr. Octavius in a different light. I think he's going to be a help Dorn to help Peter track down these other villains and kind of help, hopefully return them back where they came from, which we kind of get to see here in the next shot between Spider-Man and his Doctor Strange suit, going around with Electro in the background. It looks like he's trying to capture everyone and return them back to the little cube that Doctor Strange has. But he doesn't get good news with that. Doctor Strange tells him, like, hey, these guys are supposed to die. And Peter's not okay with that. He wants to try to find a way to save them. And in the course of doing that, it looks like he kind of captures all of them, puts them in the cube, but kind of wants the cube back. So him and Doctor Strange kind of have a game of keep away because Peter wants to find another way. But Doctor Strange is saying, listen, these guys are a threat to our universe. They got to go back and meet the fate that they were supposed to meet. They can pick up on the business where they left off, but we need to return them back to where they came from and put things back in the proper order. But Peter definitely doesn't want that. But we see a scene between him and Mary Jane here where he's telling Mary Jane, I can't save everyone. He's learning that while he wants to, it's just not going to happen. It's not a possibility. And I think he kind of started to see some of that when he dealt with Mysterio in the last movie where Mysterio wound up dying. He didn't want that, but it was something that he couldn't control. And it led to Mysterio led to his own death. This next shot, though, is pretty interesting. We get to see all the villains on top of the roof. And we see like a weird little shot here where it looks like these guys are looking at different people. It looks like Spider-Man is facing off against Sandman. It looks like Electro's looking at somebody right across from him. It looks like Lizard's looking at someone from him. And we also seen this in the Brazilian cut, which they left a bit piece out where the Lizard looks like he gets punched by someone, which indicates there might be two more people there. Another thing that adds to this theory is that Doctor Strange is missing, which means he probably went to get Peter some more help from these other multiverses to bring them in to help Peter to set things right. Which I'm sure we're going to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. But if not, guess what? We pretty much have the Sinister Six, and I'm okay with that. The next shot, though, we see is very reminiscent of the Amazing Spider-Man, where we see Gwen Stacy fall and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man diving off to save her and uses his web, which pretty much snaps her neck. We don't know, or she was already dead before he did that. But he learned the lesson that he can't save everyone in that movie, and that's something that Peter's coming to realize in this particular movie. But what would be pretty cool is if it was Andrew Garfield who came to save Mary Jane. He showed up just at the right time to save Mary Jane, and that would kind of give him some closure on what happened to him with Gwen Stacy. It'll be pretty cool. I'm not sure it's gonna happen, but it would be pretty cool. Now, the last scene we have is between Doctor Strange and Peter. Doctor Strange looks like he's trying to keep the multiverse intact, and this reminds me of the What If episode when he was trying to push back the barriers of what was breaking down after he committed all those atrocities to gain more power. This looks very reminiscent of that. He's trying to keep the universe stable and where it is. I don't know if things are trying to get in or what, but he's trying to fix things and make it stable. But guess what? We'll find all this out on December 17th in theaters. Go check out No Way Home and see what all the fuss is about. Thank you for coming in for another episode of the Omniverse Comic Discussion. Peace.